Hi, I'm Sarah Wilder, and this is part 24 of Surviving the Man I Married. In part 23, you heard the story about the final time Jim harmed me with poison. And in this episode, you're going to hear about what transpired in the days following my return home from the ER. So, following that incident, Jim chose to pretend like it didn't happen, lots of denial and unprecedented gaslighting. He kept trying to engage with me socially. So, what I did is I just developed a script of my own. Like he had one from that day in January 2016 at work, a script explaining how that went down. I had a script of my own. I told him what I thought went down that day. It was just 3 or 4 sentences and interspersed with maybe some creative name calling. I know it sounds crazy. I shouldn't have stayed, but I did because I was holding out for my final plasma infusion, which is going to be on July 6th. So I just had 17 days I needed to hang in, and that was it. I needed to survive 2.5 weeks. So what I did was I developed a couple of defensive strategies. I quit sleeping when Jim was home. So every day he'd leave for work at 4:15. Like I said before, he's very punctual. And I could actually set my alarm by him. So I would go to sleep. As soon as I heard his truck pull out, I would sleep and I set my alarm for about 12:45. He got home at 1:15. But the dogs would wake me up and need to go potty. They needed breakfast. So I usually ended up sleeping until about 10 o'clock in the morning every day. And the other defensive strategy I did was I did not leave my food or drink unattended when Jim was home. Absolutely never again. And I didn't eat anything he prepared as well. So that covers sleep, eating, and drinking. Oh, and when I did sleep, I always had my phone and a weapon, an open knife under my pillow. And under the pillow next to me, I had a queen size bed. So I had other weapons under there. So I had pepper spray and I had another knife. So I was prepared because there were the weekends. You didn't work weekends. Another strategy I did was I began searching for an apartment with Rachel again. So I headed back up to Salt Lake City here and there to look at apartments. I also hired a realtor to sell our house. So I did that. And all of these things were just setting the ball in motion for divorce number 2 from Jim. And he knew almost all of this. He didn't know, of course, about the weapons and stuff, but he knew I was looking for apartments. I think he figured that out. I didn't really tell him. I went while he was at work, but he knew I'd hired the realtor and that the divorce was back on. So the apartment search up in Salt Lake City got a little frustrating because it's really expensive up there, but I felt like I wanted to be near Rachel. And I also knew the job market up there would be better. So the thing is, we found that everything in my price range had one repellent quality or another, usually cat pee. In Utah, you don't encounter too many cigarette smoke saturated places, but there was pet odors. So one day we just kind of pulled over in the Federal Heights neighborhood of Salt Lake City just to have a think and to take a breather. And Rachel was driving, so I had a little smoke. So we were at this beautiful turn of the Century Park that's on the east end of South Temple Street. It took up a whole city block. It's just great, just beautiful. And we're sitting there and we're commenting on the cute little houses and stuff. And we noticed this beautiful little brick building, an apartment building. I think it's like from 1910, a little historic building. Thought it was pretty. People in the park with their kids and their dogs, and it was just a great neighborhood. And that really was the neighborhood I wanted to be in. But at that point, it was proving impossible. But what I didn't know, and never discount the power of karma or prayer, whatever you want to call it, because in under 4 months' time, guess who was moving in to that beautiful little red brick historic apartment building? I was. I was. It worked out. It was a great apartment, basement apartment, fantastic building. It was safe too. I picked it for one of the main reasons is you needed to have a code to get in the parking lot. You needed another code to get in the building. And then you needed a code, of course, to get in your apartment. And I felt safe there. However, it was expensive. And also, it was the worst landlady I'd ever encountered. Honestly, this woman was a nightmare. She was a former pianist for the Mormon Tabernacle Choir and still toured, went all over the world really playing. Phenomenal, phenomenal musician. But she just was a nightmare. So that's a story for another time. Okay, So back to life after near death. So the following weekend, so it was 2 weekends after the poisoning, and it was 4th of July weekend. And I had gotten so fed up with Jim's clinginess, and he was creepy and sticky and hovered. He hovered and he monitored, and I just couldn't stand it. So I asked Rachel if she wouldn't mind spending the weekend with me. So she came over for the weekend. We set up shop in the basement, just like Nurse Rita and I usually do. We had snacks imported from the kitchen. We had weaponry imported from my bedroom, and extremely comfortable space. And we set up shop down there. And wouldn't you know, just like with when Rita's over, Jim would interrupt us. He would interrupt us directly until we really made it clear that was not happening anymore. But then he would indirectly like spy on us. And he was a bigger person. He was big, so I could hear him when he was on the stairs. We could even hear him when he was starting to come down the main level stairs above us. And so I would go up there and holler at him to quit hovering, quit doing this, quit doing that. It was just ridiculous. So Rachel and I got Becca on the phone because we were so creeped out by this. And we made Becca stay on the phone with us. She is, I will say, one of the funniest people I know. Nobody gets me laughing harder than her. Nobody. And my nephew. And they're two sides of the same coin. So Rachel and I enjoyed our time with Becca, and we just formulated a plan when I could get out of there and I could bail. But I was exhausted from playing defense all the time, from not sleeping great, and just being pissed off all the time too. Being pissed off not just at Jim. I was pissed off at American Fork Fire Department, American Fork Police Department in particular, because I had just gotten swept under the rug. So Rachel and I did have a cozy little time there with Becca on FaceTime, hanging out with us. She gave up her sleep for us, sacrificed it. I had less than a week left now till my next infusion. I say next and final interchangeably, but at that time I didn't know it was my final. I knew it would be one of the last infusions, but I was really waiting until I found an apartment. I had no intention of bailing unexpectedly. So we had one weird experience with Jim during that night and then another one in the morning. I'm going to cover that in the next video. I'll see you in part 24B.